Good morning, everyone. It's 10:30 a.m. It's Sunday morning, which means it's time for Sunday Club. But I think I am having a streaming mishap, which is a good way to start a Sunday morning. I think the wonderful folks at Streamlabs who run the streaming software that I use have signed me out of Twitch without me realizing. So I think this isn't going out on one of the platforms where we sometimes get people chatting. So I don't know how to start Twitch off. Good morning, by the way. Hello, I hope you're having a lovely day if you're watching this later, or good morning. Oh my God, Evandro is in the chat this morning already. Justin's saying good morning as well. Evandro has to see me during the week, so I don't know what he's doing here on a Sunday morning. I'm gonna have to potentially write the Twitch stream off this morning because I don't think I can go back and turn it on. This is because of an update in Streamlabs that installed itself this morning and has signed me out of Twitch, but I can't go back and turn it on. Sorry, I'm doing debugging live on Sunday morning. Damn it. Okay, I also don't know Twitch well enough to post stuff up there and say, hey, go watch on YouTube. But we do get people drop by there and say hello in the chat, and I do get viewers on there, so I am keen not to just throw everyone under the bus. Oh, I'm not even signed in. Oh no, it's all going wrong on a Sunday morning. Oh, okay, let's not worry about that. I'm going to try and swing back while I do the intro. I'm going to look off to the right while I do an intro, just while I try and frantically fix Twitch. So this morning we are going to look at the notice gem. So we're carrying on this morning with notifications, subscriptions, unsubscription-y things around channels. And if you remember, that is not the concept of having a subscription where you pay every month, which is, if you Google around for gems, the most common thing when you search for subscription. But it is, in fact, subscribing to a channel, like a YouTube channel or a Twitch channel. Okay, I don't know how Twitch works. I genuinely have no idea how Twitch works. Okay, I think we might have to write that one off this week. I'll try and do a little mini stream on that later. Okay, so we are going to jump into all of those things, and we're going to look at the noticed gem specifically today. So if you remember, a couple of streams ago, we did a little planning session, and we looked at how we say that we want to subscribe to some things, how wide the scope of a subscription is, what it looks like. And then we implemented some last week, although we got really off into the weeds with devise and turbo and things like that, which I was still looking at this morning and I still haven't fixed. And also in our research, we came across I think Justin was the one who mentioned this notice gem. And so we had some gems that went all the way back and handled all of the subscription stuff for you. So is a user subscribed to this channel? And they would also handle the notifications. So tell, this user that a new video has been posted on this channel. And what we decided to do pretty arbitrarily was to build the subscriptions ourselves and keep track of those in our app, but have a gem help us with the notification side of things, so telling the user. And where I really want to get to, and hopefully we can get there today, is learning anything at all about ActionCable, because I'm just aware of what it is, I think, but I've never really used it in anger. And we looked many streams ago at Turbo Streams, which I think uses ActionCable, but again, I was kind of reading the docs and I didn't really have enough information there. So that's where I want to go today. I basically want to say, can we show a user something on the screen that just popped up from the back end? Basically, so we trigger something on the server side, something happens on the client side, a little red badge or a number increments or something happens. I don't know what we're going to do, but how are we doing that? Does the gem help us with that? Is there documentation for that? And we're going to jump in. And so we're going to add the gem, get that working, and then see what the hell ActionCable is. And we're going to worry about Twitch on another day. And I'm already also, I didn't even do the normal intro. Every week, if you've never seen this stream before, it's not just me panicking about Twitch normally. It is a stream where every week we look at some Ruby on Rails and we kind of work on this app, which is an app where people can create an account. They can provide the ID of a Twitch or at the moment, only a YouTube channel, and it will go and retrieve all of the videos for that channel, and it will show them all on a web page. And we're looking at all of the things around those type of applications and what might be involved in those. And Today we're looking at notifications for users. So let's jump straight in because we haven't really got any follow-up. So let's go take a look. So this is kind of where we got to last week. We looked at this button working, which is amazing. So we have subscribe and unsubscribe. And if you remember, what we're doing there is creating and destroying a, oh God, I couldn't remember last week, a notification subscription record rather than a subscription notification record, which I keep getting the wrong way around. And we basically did no validation around, are you allowed to subscribe to this thing? So all we said was that a subscription has to have a subscribable, so a thing to which it can be subscribed, and a user. And so we looked at how generic we could make that. So you could say that we were going to specify that it had to be a channel, or you could say, no, we're going to have anything as a subscribable and make that a polymorphic relationship. And you know, we were looking at different design options as to how wide we made that scope and how narrow we made that scope. So that was all in previous streams if you're interested. And all this button is doing is creating and destroying that record. Oh, actually, I think it might be... oh, we did also have an active flag, so I wonder if it was destroying it or making it inactive. Yeah, so let's see what we actually ended up doing there. That was in some sort of notification subscription controller. Okay, so we did end up doing a destroy, although we have an active flag. That doesn't make any sense at all. So it's fun reading things a week later that you wrote a week earlier in the rush of doing the subscription work, because this doesn't make any sense. Why would you have an active flag to turn it on and off, but then also still destroy it? All right, let's not worry too much about that. At the moment, we'll just say that we're just going to have the presence of the record indicate whether you're subscribed or not. Just, again, I'm hoping that when people watch these, if they kind of come across mistakes like that, which I make every week, just because we're moving so quickly and not really writing any tests or doing anything properly, you're kind of able to infer what we're trying to get to rather than worrying about the details. So, you know, you could do it where you have a flag that you set and then unset it. So this could just be, this could be an update where you set the active as false, for example, but we're just destroying the record for some reason. I can't remember why. So when this happens, this subscription is adding you to the channel, subscribing you to the channel and unsubscribing you. There's no validation to say whether you're allowed to do that. We're just going nuts here and just trying to get this kind of, everything's rough and ready at the moment. I did enjoy Justin's comment last week, which is like, I'm not sure how you're able to work in this mess. And neither am I. Things are getting a bit out of hand here and I'm just not having any spare time to go back and tidy this up. But someone did ask me in the YouTube comments to update the work in progress branch, which I will do now actually, because I think I had totally forgotten about that. So let's do that now. If this thing comes to life, so we can say, yeah, I think we can just do this because I don't think I'd rebased anything at all. Okay, I had. Or is that? No, the tip. Okay. I will endeavor to update the work in progress branch. Whoever was asking in the YouTube comments. All right, so we've got our subscribe and unsubscribe. Let's go take a look at our gem. I don't think we installed it, did we? Noticed? Noticed. No. Okay. And so let's go and take a noticed Ruby gem. Great. Notifications for your Ruby on Rails app. Currently, we support these notification delivery methods out of the box. ActionCable channels, that's the one we are interested in. Maybe we'll start with like sending an email or something. That might be a simple way. Now there's a screencast because this is from Chris from Go Rails. So I have no doubt that that screencast is going to be very good and well composed. let's just let's do what we did last week and skip that because it would be far too. Oh, that's it. Okay, that's an ad. I thought it was only a minute long. Okay, so let's see. It's 12 minutes. And this is undoubtedly incredibly well done and easy to use. So let's know that that's there in case we need to dive into anything. But let's just jump straight in, shall we? Save notifications to your database. This was, okay, so let's do this. So, I don't tend to use bundle add, but I don't know why. I think it's because I have always wanted control of the gem file. So we can just add noticed here, and then let's do bundle install. So that's the same thing. So if you're seeing their bundle add noticed, you can add the gem directly to your gem file, and then you can run bundle install, and that will get added. So hopefully we'll see noticed being added here, 1.2.21. Cool. All right, let's see what's next. To save notifications to your database, use the following command to generate a notification model. This will generate a notification model and instructions for associating user models with the notifications table. To generate a notification object, simply run Rails generate notice notification comment notification. Sending notifications. To send a notification to a user, instantiate a new notification, deliver it in a background job, deliver it immediately, or deliver it to multiple recipients. This will instantiate a new notification with the comment stored in the notifications params. Yep, okay. Each delivery method is available to transform this metadata that's best for the format. For example, the database may simply store the comment so it can be linked when rendering in the navbar. The WebSocket mechanism may transform this into a browser notification or insert it into the navbar. Notification objects. Notifications inherit from noticed base. This provides all their functionality and allows them to be delivered. To add delivery methods, simply include the module for the delivery methods you would like to use. So comment notification. So the thing I'm asking here, so this is the example class that's being provided here. So comment notification. And you can kind of say how you want that to go. So is it's called comment notification, but would you have one for like new comment notification and then like edited comment notification? Is each class representative of an entirely unique type, or can you like in the class look at what's actually happening and send it, like this has a message, for example. But could you perform logic in here to see what content actually gets sent? Okay. I don't know the answer to that. I'm just asking as I'm going through. I have no doubt that's answered probably very well in Chris from Go Rails' videos. If method name calls method name and cancels delivery, if false is return. Shared options. Unless, okay, so these are conditionals we can add. Calls method name and cancels delivery. Okay, so you could have something like if, well, we saw the other day they had like if email subscribed or something like that. If subscribed. You can define helper methods inside your notification object to make it easier to render. Okay. URL helpers. URL helpers are included in notification classes by default. Okay. So comment notification, because it inherits from noticed base, has all these callbacks around when the notification has been delivered. and callbacks for each specific type. Super cool. When using deliver later, so that's like when queuing that notification, I guess, callbacks will be run around queuing the delivery method jobs, not inside the jobs as they actually execute. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so deliver, if you're queuing these, the callbacks are around when they were queued. So you can't say like, hey, this has been sent. You can say, hey, this has been queued to be sent. Defining custom delivery methods allow you to add callbacks that run inside the background job. Okay, so if you want that functionality, do it yourself, seems to be what that's saying. Translations. Oh, I see. So this is where these conditionals go in the actual definition of which kind of medium you want them to be sent by. So deliver by email, if, and then you put the method in there. And you had if, unless, and delay. Okay. Delivery methods. Database writes notification to the database. Database notifications are special in that they will run before the other delivery methods. We do this so you can reference the database record ID in other delivery methods. For that same reason, the delivery can't be delayed via the delay option or an error will be raised. Okay, and I'm assuming that am I assuming this? So when we're just writing a notification to the database, we would then still need to put some sort of viewer around that if we wanted to. So email obviously is going to send an email, so there'll be like an outcome. But if we write it to the database, I'm assuming we still have to put something in the view to go and check the database for that mechanism? Or is that just like an auditing one? Do we just leave that one in there and actually this one is the one we might care about if we want to send something to the browser? Okay, ActionCable sends a notification to the browser via WebSockets. ActionCable channel by default. Delivered by ActionCable. Okay, so it looks like we just define that. So it expects ActionCable to be up and running. So you might have to circle back to implementing ActionCable and then plugging this in. But let's get this up and running. Okay, other mechanisms, fallbacks, custom delivery methods. So earlier on, they said that if you want those lifecycle methods to work, you might have to write your own, which is fair enough. Loads of detailed stuff, custom callback stuff, limitations. Notification database model includes several helpful features to make working with the database notifications easier. Sorting, querying. Okay, yeah, so you can go and get the unread ones. They have methods to mark them as read. Okay, so you can build, okay, so you then can build your own UI around like, you can have an inbox or a little notifications panel or whatever you want to give your users. Okay. Adding notification associations to your models makes querying and deleting notifications easy and is a pretty critical feature of most applications. For example, in most cases, you'll want to delete notifications for records that are destroyed. If you're using MySQL or Postgres, the params column in the notifications table is in JSON or JSONB format. We quickly queried against. Wait, hang on. So this is all under the heading of associations. Okay. For example, we can query the notifications and delete them on destroy like so. This is on a post or destroy notifications. Notifications.destroy all. If your notification is only associated with one model, or you're using a text column for your params column, then a polymorphic association is what you'll want to use. So I'm just looking at the difference between those two. I've used this one in the past. Is that only Postgres syntax? I thought that was just the syntax to query the JSON B column. Does MySQL let you do it this way? That's cool if it does. Sorry, that's off topic. Okay, so okay, so that's just adding an additional association. We really care too much about that right now. We can just, because we're trying to work our way back to ActionCable, we can just set these up. Let's define one, and we can say, well, we can say user has a new subscription, I guess, and just put it on the user. Let's do what they told us to. So to save notifications in your database, use the following command to generate a notification model. Yeah, we can do, okay, so let's do this one first. Just do as it tells us to do. We bump this font size up so it's a bit more readable. Oops. Okay, so this has generated a bunch of stuff. This is nice. You get your next steps in here as well. So run Rails DB migrate, add has many notifications as recipient to your user model. Okay, I'm just going to do as this thing tells me because it seems really well written. And I just want to get past this part. Run Rails DB migrate, which is going to run the migration that it generated in here. Yep, so we've now got our notifications table. Add has many notifications as recipient to your user model. Sure. Let's go and do that. Has many notifications as a recipient. Generate notifications with Rails G notice notification. Is that the one where we need to? Yep, so let's do this. Let's do this, and we're going to have well, this is where I got a bit lost. Does it need to be new subscription notification or just subscription notification? Let's call it new subscription notification. And again, we're just going to have a really basic one, subscription notification, where when you subscribe to a channel, you're going to get a notification, which makes no sense because you've obviously triggered the subscription yourself. So why would you need to be notified? But we already have the behavior, so we can just hook into it. And then once we've done one, we can do 1,000,000. So let's create this file. Oops. We can go take a look. Great. So now we've got this. Oh, wow. This is really cool. Like this gem gives you loads of example code here that's already commented out, but it shows you what you can do. So to deliver this notification, use subscription notification .with, and then put everything you need in there. Add your delivery methods. Add required params. Okay, so let's set this up. So we're gonna deliver this by database. We're gonna require a. Do we require the channel or do we require the notification subscription? Let's see if we require that and pass that in, because we can get everything we need from that. Define helper methods to make rendering easier. Let's just see if we can create one first. So in here, we want to deliver this notification, current user. Okay, so let's just add this in here. I have no idea what this is going to do, but we're going to find out. Oh, well, we need to store this in that case. It does keep reminding me of Justin's comments of like, how are you working in this mess? Like, it's getting out of hand. None of this is written as it should be. So it's like I'm just adding mess on top of mess. All right. Don't know when I'm going to come back and tidy this up though. But I think we're still able to look at what we're trying to look at. We're going to see if we can get these notifications running. And then I did think I would find some time this week, but that has not happened. Okay, so that deliver current user. We have a current user at this point. And so I think we should just see a new row in the database at this point. Is that right? So in here, if we load up a console, and say, what was the notifications? So notification dot count 0. Okay. So now if did we save that? So we've got this running now. Got new subscription notification with notification subscription. Not deliver. Okay, fine. I'm losing track of the word subscription in my brain. Okay, this one. There's unsubscribe. That's going to do a destroy. This one will do a create. Oh, something happened there. That didn't click that time. Okay, so something went wrong. Uninitialized constant new. Oh, do I have to start my server again? So I keep trying to bump the font size up so it's a bit more readable. There we go. So damn it. I've just restarted the server. Let's give that another run. Great. Okay, so now we're subscribed. Jump over to our console, notification.count 1. Amazing. We have a notification record, and that's all we asked the gem to do. So let's try and backtrack a little bit because there's a lot of crappy code in there and stuff happening. So we installed the gem. We defined, so the gem asked us to follow a bunch of instructions, and what they did is added the database tables. So it created a migration for us and a load of scaffolding code, which is what happened here. So all of this green here, that's the gem having generators that build those files for you. So Rails does that sometimes, gems can do it as well. And so they tell you a command, Rails generate noticed model. And what that will do is if you then go and read the gem source code, which is a really useful thing to do, you will find somewhere in here, usually there's a folder called generators or something like that. And you will see the things that it can generate. And often there'll be logic like based on arguments you can pass into the command or whatever they want. And it will have a bunch of templates, and then it can generate those files for you, which is super good. Really helpful. Recommend going and reading those because I can never remember how they work. And so it generated all those files. Great. Tests that we should definitely be using but are currently ignoring. And most importantly, it generated this migration. So that created the notifications table. So when I just jumped over to look at the schema briefly to see what the table was called, I didn't know because I hadn't bothered to go and check the migration. We should definitely go and do that. We're kind of, remember, skipping a bunch of our due diligence here just because we're streaming. So we installed that table by running the migration. It then gave us another command, which was go and generate your notification class, and again it had a generator to do that for us. So rather than, we could have gone to create this file here ourselves, like all we needed to do was this line here and inherit from noticed base, but it had this generator, which was super helpful because it gave us all of these commented out lines that we could then look at. and see how it worked. So that's often a difference when you're using a gem. They might give you some tools that you don't that are to help you, so you don't have to go away and work out how to do everything or write it yourself and things like that. But there's no reason you can't write it yourself. Like we could have just implemented a class ourselves if we knew the code that we were looking for. So don't be afraid to definitely go and jump in to see whenever you get a command from a gem to be like, hey, run this thing. You can usually go and find in the code of the gem what that then does. And it's a really good way to learn more about the gem, learn how gems do stuff, and yeah, super helpful. So that's how we got to where we're at. We then uncommented this line and this line, which is like, what mechanism do we want this to fire? We're going to create a record in the database. Great. And we told it to look for a notification subscription. I'm still not sure that's the smartest thing, but if you remember, the subscription is the model we create when we do when the user says, hey, I want to subscribe to this channel. And then we destroy that record when it goes away. When we unsubscribe, sorry. So that was great. So then when we clicked subscribe here in our app, which still looks insane, we ran through that controller, and the controller is where I added the line. So this is the create action of this controller. So here we're creating a subscription, and because I had told the new subscription notification to accept a notification subscription here, and it says that they're actually required. Previously, what was happening is this was just being created, but then I needed to do something with it because we need to pass it to the notification. So we stored this. It doesn't need to be an instance variable particularly, but we stored this here, and then we're able to pass it to the notification here. And calling .deliver is what generated that notification record. So then when we went over into the console back here and went notification.count, that went up by 1, that incremented. So then we can look at the last one, and you'll see that we have the recipient type is the user I'm logged in as, user ID 10. And here we have the notification subscription that we passed in. And that's just been, those are just like the attributes of it there. Read at, so this is then one of the attributes that we saw in the gem documentation. Again, I'll just bump the font size up a little bit more. So we have read at, so they added in some methods, which were like mark as read, mark all as read, or whatever the ones they gave us, which was super helpful. Where was that in the actual thing itself? So we had like mark as read, mark as unread, so user.notifications. So we should now be able to do, following that logic, this is, what was he? If we say user is user ID 10, that's our user here. And we can say user.notifications.count, and it's 1. And we can say .unread. Was it not unread? Oh, sorry. Left the count on there. User.notifications.unread.count is 1 because he hasn't read it. And then read.count is 0. So what we could do is we could go into our UI. And this is me going back to Tailwind, which I'm just keep forgetting all about every time we come back to this. So we did it in our application layout last week. We put that little thing where they're logged in, didn't we? So we added this last week, and it totally didn't. It totally didn't look like I thought it was going to look. So this bar here, I thought would be like a little taskbar, but I spent 30 seconds looking at it and couldn't remember. I put in H2, which I thought was going to specify the height. It just puts this thing here. We could put the number of notifications that are unread. Let's see if we can do that now. Just because I think we should try and fix the height of that thing. Every time we do this, I look at the Tailwind documentation and I think, I've got to spend some time with this. And then Right, let's go back to height because that seemed important. Ridiculous. There's so little work in making this look nice. I do apologize for this. So this is all in. So these are all in relative. So rems. So let's see if we change this. Does it need? Let's see if that actually does change the height. It might need the display type setting. Oh, so that has bumped. So I was just going to see if we could get the. What is the display type of that element then? It is display block. So the height is that, and is that what it's being told to do? So height is 16 pixels from that. Okay, so that's fine. So that is the correct value, which is that I didn't put in a high enough value. Okay, fine. So let's say 12. This is where I get a bit lost because I don't know what the difference between 4 and 12 is. Oh, okay, quite a lot. So they don't go 1 to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, they do. 12, 14, 16. What pattern is this? 16, 18. They go up in increments of 4. Then sit. No, still 4. Go up in increments of 0.5. Then 1. Then 2, then 4. I don't know how you, or is this just, is that just the number of pixels by the end? No. No, that doesn't make any sense. So what is that now? Age 12, height 48. And is there a way of knowing, I know I've jumped over slightly, but I just want to get the notifications into the UI. Oh, well. Okay, so we can then put, let's try and put a little thing on the left with your email address, and on the right, it'll have the number of unread notifications. And then we can get a little red dot somehow poking up if we get a new notification. I don't know how we're going to do that, but we're going to go and look at ActionCable. So we can say, so we want to say that the navbar itself is a Flex container. Do you just put Flex for that? Doesn't have. Okay, so class Flex. Then all of these are. I always think I'm missing a beat on this thing. Where does it indicate, like... Okay, so this one can then be Flex. And then I want it to be... The container will keep it within a certain width. Right, so that then needs to be centered and also Flex. I'm trying to think how I would write this in CSS. This is like a level of abstraction away from me. So that's a Flex container that I need to be aligned. So in my mind, I'm picturing it on a desktop. So you have a really, really wide screen. So I want the... something on, I want the bar across the top to have, it go run full width, but the content of it not to run full width. I want that to be constrained by whatever the width of the site is. And so that I think is container. So for that, I want the parent to, well, I suppose it doesn't need to be Flex. That could just be, I mean, that could just be text align center, I guess, as long as the one inside it. But then it could, surely we want it to be Flex just to be consistent. Oh, hello, thank you. Thank you very much. The fact that you got any sense out of what I was rambling on about on PubSub Hubbub makes me very happy. I'm so glad that helped. If there's anything I can do to help on that one, I'm trying to make sense of Tailwind right now, and that's not helping me whatsoever. So I'm so glad it was helpful. We're gonna try and get this working. I think this is worth a good 10-minute investment because we do this all the time. So you know what I actually like doing a lot is visualizing these. So let's just chuck. I tend to do this all the time when I'm working in CSS. I don't know if other people do, but basically just drawing boxes around the thing I actually care about at that point, and then just removing them, like making them stupid colors. But I think it might help with Tailwind. So I'm going to have a red box. An outline is a useful one to use here because border adds adds the width, whereas outline doesn't. I think there's a difference between outline and border. So let's just draw that, and then inside here is where I want like another div for this thing, which I want to go to the left, which is showing you something about the user. That would usually be that could be like a logo or something. And then I want another div here, which is going to be our notification thing that we've just been. So I'm going to have current user dot notifications dot unread dot count. Yeah, just for no particular reason. And then if there isn't a current user, just show nothing. So just put if current user in there. So like that'll be it. So we should now see a number in here somewhere along with a blue line and a red line. I think I put in here. It's notifications. Sorry, I missed the S off. Okay, so we've got our red line. And what was our blue line around? Here, so I think they might be the same. Yep, so if we take that one off, we should hopefully see the blue one. Yeah, so if you put outline on two things, you can't show two if the containers are the same size. So let's move this down to the bottom. Hang on, I'm going to try and make this a bit easier to read. So I'm going to pop this down on the bottom. And amazing. Yeah, so you can see that this one, so the blue one stops here. Now, why does the blue one stop here? Because I think it has this container thing in, which is the constrained width. So now we want this to sit centered there. And I remember none of my Flexbox syntax. This is me never memorizing anything. So it's like See, I just don't find this. I just don't find this easy to. Yeah, so I like the CSS tricks one, really helpful. This one is the one that I just use as the one I leave on the screen when I'm trying to remember them because I bump the font size up a little bit. So if you haven't seen this one's super helpful. Like all these little cartoony things, they just help me remember where the hell each one is because there's so many of these. Like and then justify content versus align content. So there's justify content there. Align items, sorry. So yeah, I would always have those the wrong way around. So align items is that way. So I think we want justify content center. So how do we do that on here? Oh, so it's actually so that's not in the flex section of the docs. Right, okay, I think that's why I keep getting thrown. So everything's by its own CSS name. So then justify dash center would be the tailwind way of doing that. So I think I can do flex justify center. So does that move this blue, this blue box here to the center? It does not. It does not, people. Oh, wait, do I have I got it on the wrong one? Oh, also the good thing about it is I suppose I don't need to do it and then keep refreshing and just do it here. Yeah, okay, cool. That's what I was looking for. Sorry, I put it on the child and not the parent. So then we can use justify center. So then here you can see, so that's kind of what I was going for. And then we should have the number one. Oh, here we go. So here's one here. So that's our little notifications badgy thing there. So what we want to do is move that to the right-hand side. So that is line self? No, justify self? Justify content. Just name Flexbox things until you get one right. Yeah. Align self flex end for that one. Yeah, okay. I'm going to say that. So align self flex end is self dash end. See, this is, I just don't find this API consistent. So that's justify dash center is the first word from the CSS thing and then the value. But the align self is the second word and then the second word and the, okay. Sometimes it just doesn't click. Okay, but I can try it in the browser. So I can find my little div that's got the one in here. And do they not? Class self end. Oh no, that's moved it to the bottom. Which is not what I want. I want to move it to the end. Oh, but is that just then saying align items flex start? And then over here, it's going to be align items. Item start. This is harder. I'm guessing when you get really into it, it's not. So container flex is the full width. So then that one as well. Yep. Okay. Oh no, that one I do. That one you want to fill the whole. Oh, this is me trying to remember Flexbox stuff. Flexing goes to the bottom. Yeah, I can't remember how to do this. I can Google around. What we could do, I guess, is put them as... I don't even think I can guess at the tailwindy bits enough. So let's put these classes in because Safari keeps forgetting. So if this one is flex grow 1, will it just fill to like widen to fill the space? This is a random little drift off into Flexbox, but I could do with a refresher, frankly. So I'm going to use this time. That's how I use this documentation. I just skim up and down it until my eyes find a picture that I find useful. Right, okay, so flex grow. And then over here to see what grow is. Flex grow. Flex grow 0, flex grow 1. This is flex grow on the top one. And then flex grow 0 on this one. Okay, cool. So now we have our, okay, that makes sense. So now we have our one over here on the right-hand side. And we have our thing over here on the left, which is where we're trying to get to. And then as we go down, the container should deal with keeping them in the middle until we get to some sort of mobile view, and then we can do something else. With that weird, I don't think I'm going to stick with Tailwind. I don't think it's for me. I don't know. I'd have to really, really get into it. Because once I get to here, so I just guess I have to put in all of the prefixed ones. They have like the little colon ones. Okay. Okay, but that was a useful little trip. So now we have a 1 over here. And what we should see is if we then come to our console and we have unread last, so there's only one notification in there and it's unread. So in here, that's our last one. But then we have mark as read. So we could have a little button saying mark all notifications as read or something like that. We can do that. That's saved. And so this should now change to 0. Amazing. However, if we unsubscribe, which is not working for some, oh yeah, there we go. Unsubscribe, refresh, still 0, then subscribe, boom, it's now 1 again because we're creating that notification every time we do it. And if we unsubscribe here, subscribe again, 2, unsubscribe, 3, 4. How is that change? Oh, I didn't put any turbo streams in. Yes, every time we subscribe, that is updating. We have a little notification. Amazing. Now, what would be really cool is if this happened, so we could do it, this happened without us having to refresh the page. So got our notifications, the gem's working, amazing, everything's running really smooth. I guess that brings us to the big question of the day. ActionCable question mark? Okay, so let's go to our gem and see if there's a way in here. ActionCable. ActionCable channels. We support these other. Okay, cool. Sends a notification to the browser via WebSockets. ActionCable channel by default. Delivered by ActionCable. We are starting from complete scratch on this, so this really is me not having used this and kind of read about it a bit. And again, if you remember, we did that stream on turbo streams, doing a live stream about turbo streams, and turbo frames worked really well, got everything working and dead like out the box, really fun. And then turbo streams didn't click. We didn't quite have a working model that we thought was going to work in the same way there. So what we want to do is work out whatever ActionCable is doing, and then find out if turbo streams is good because we know a bit more about it. Okay, so sends a notification to the browser via WebSockets. ActionCable channel by default. So is there any more docs around that one? Like, how do you know what to do with it at the other end? Okay, what channel we use to send notifications? So I'm assuming the way I understand ActionCable is that there is a persistent connection kept between the server and the client, the browser in this instance. And you can then ping messages and you tell your app how to react to those messages. And each one is on the channel. So you like kind of like a pub sub kind of thing. You say, right, well, you listen for this. And then when it happens, do whatever you need to do. Maybe it has the kind of message or whatever has some sort of payload, and you react to the payload or do whatever. So I'm assuming that what this gem does is ping that message. So it assumes that the channel between the client and the server is already running, and it is just going to go ping and send through the payload, which is what we're defining with what we passed in the notification, I guess. So this is assuming that there's already stuff up and running. Cool. I did notice that the last commit was called actioncable.md, or updated that. I'm just going to see what that markdown file actually says. Okay, so this looks pretty useful. Let's go and find out what that is doing. ActionCable notifications in Noticed are broadcast to the Noticed notification channel. By default, we simply send over the params as JSON and subscribe to the current user stream. This requires identified by current user in your ActionCable connection, for example, using device for authentication. bunch of code, presumably to do with ActionCable-y stuff. Subscribing to the noticed notification channel with JavaScript. To receive noticed notifications client-side, you'll need to subscribe to the noticed notification channel. So this is in our JavaScript channels, notification channel, import consumer from consumer, create. So this is that idea of the listening, like being subscribed to. So the client has to be listening for events from the server. So you need to subscribe to the channel. And then when messages are pinged, you're subscribed, you're listening. Whoever decided to use a test app to run these streams that has channel and stream, and then using technology which also has channel and stream, I don't think it was a good idea. So the worst language. So you're sending information about a channel over a channel during a live stream. The video is also a live stream, and also you're streaming that data to Turbo Streams. This is gibberish, absolute gibberish. All right, so this is great. So this looks like stuff I've seen on articles about ActionCable. This is like a listener. Okay, so I guess we need to go back to basics and work out how to get started with ActionCable. So we're going to look at some Rails docs. ActionCable overview. Okay, we're back to basics. This is good. Because everything else is working and looking so amazing. You got an email address, you got the number 5, what more do you need? You can make that number go to 6. And if you remember, if we bothered to wrap this in a turbo frames, this number wouldn't be going to 6. That's only happening because the whole page is refreshing. So if we use turbo frames for that little form thing there, only this section of the view of the page would actually be getting updated. So we had in the control panel version of these, we had an edit button and we could edit the video description and stuff like that. And then when we clicked save, the rest of the page wasn't being refreshed. So this number would be wrong. So what Turbo Streams would allow us to do is use Turbo Frames here and ActionCable or Turbo Streams here, but we still wouldn't be refreshing the whole page, but the number would still be incrementing correctly, but not because you're reloading the page, but because it's getting the correct value from the server perhaps, or incrementing by 1 or something like that. That's the dream. That's the dream of where we're heading, I think. In this guide, you'll learn how ActionCable works and how to use WebSockets to incorporate real time. Okay, what it is, how to set it up, how to set up channels. So what it is, I don't think we need to read that because I've just done a really excellent job of talking about what it is. I totally butchered it, but blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. You can come and read this. I strongly suggest that we all read it, but I am not going to do that right now because I want to get to the bit where it says, let's do some stuff. So here's where it defines terminology. Very sensible. Because it has channels and subscribers, and we're using those channels to tell it about subscribers to channels. Amazing. Absolutely ridiculous. Right, broadcastings. Broadcasting is a pub sub link where anything transmitted by the broadcaster is sent directly to the channel subscribers who are streaming that named broadcasting. So broadcast is the message, the content going over the wire, I guess. Server-side components, connections. For every WebSocket accepted by the server, a connection object is instantiated. This object becomes the parent of all the channel subscriptions that are created from there on. The connection itself does not deal with any specific application logic beyond authentication and authorization. The client of a WebSocket connection is called the connection consumer. An individual user will create one consumer connection pair per browser tab, window, or device they have open. Connections are instances of ActionCable connection, which extends ActionCable connection base. An application cable connection, you authorize the incoming connection and proceed to establish it if the user. You authorize the incoming connection and proceed to establish it if the user can be identified. Okay, cool. Connection setup, app channels, application cable, connection. So do we already have these? Because this is a blank I think so. That's in app channels. Yes. So app channels channel and app channels connection came with our app. So we already have these. So this is app channels application cable connection. So this is this file here. Class connection identified by current user. Connect current user, find verified user. If verified user is found, cookies don't encrypt user, verified user. So I'm assuming that I'm jumping around a little bit. Yep. So I'm looking here that this is using device. So this is in the Rails docs, and this is finding is this the right user for this, verifying the user. But if you remember, just a few minutes ago, we were looking at the noticed docs, and they actually had a version of this file. So that's again ActionCable connection, and that inherits from ActionCable connection base, which is this one, and this one uses device. So identified by current user, connect self current user, find verified user, logs it out to say that it's happening, which is great, and then find verified user, and this is using Warden rather than this one here, which is looking in the cookies. Reject unauthorized connection. And this one uses reject unauthorized connection, which again, I assume is being provided by this somewhere. So should we just start grabbing some code? Feels like we should just start grabbing some code. So let's grab everything in here and pop it in here. Cool. Let's keep going through the docs. So, yeah, just want to round up what we're doing there. We're basically saying, like, is this user allowed to do this? Which presumably you can then have connections that are for anonymous users. Oh, I see. So the identified designated connection that can be used to find the specific connection later. Note that anything marked as an identifier will automatically create a delegate by the same name on any channel instances created off the instance. So you would still need some sort of identifier, even if it was anonymous users. This example relies on the fact that you will already have handled authentication of the user somewhere else in your application, and that successful authentication sets an encrypted cookie within. Okay, that's just specific to that code. Cookie. By identifying the connection by the same current user, you're also ensuring that you can later retrieve all open connections by a given user and potentially disconnect them if a user is deleted or unauthorized. Okay, so it sounds like setting up connections for anonymous users is a hassle, because presumably you don't know. You'd have to guarantee that you could get them all back. If the user went away and came back, like if it was another device, you wouldn't know who they were. You'd have to ask them for something, I guess. Plus, how would you then close them? We'd have to time them out, I guess. Okay. If your authentication approach includes using a session, you could okay, so this is all stuff that we've covered by copying code from that noticed, sorry. I think I might have been saying notified a lot, but noticed is the name of the gem. Exception handling. Okay, that all feels like due diligence, which we're skipping most of the time in these streams. A channel encapsulates a logical unit of work, similar to what a controller does in a regular MVC setup. By default, Rails creates a parent ActionCable channel class, which extends ActionCable channel base for encapsulating shared logic between your channels. So that is like application controller, I guess. So we have that here. And it's empty. So they will all inherit from that. Then you would create your own channel classes. For example, you could have a chat channel and an appearance channel. A consumer could then be subscribed to either or both of these channels. So we could have a notifications channel. Yes, okay. So we have a notification channel. Consumers subscribe to channels acting as subscribers. Their connection is called a subscription. Produced messages are then routed to these channel subscriptions based on an identifier sent by the channel consumer. So the chat channel called when there's a method called subscribed, and the note is called when the consumer has successfully become a subscriber to this channel. Okay. I'm assuming there are just a bunch of methods that are provided for us to do stuff around that. More exception handling, skip. Just again, don't skip that stuff. Like, do your due diligence. We're just skipping it for the purposes of the stream. Normally we'd be very professional. Connections. Client-side components. Consumers require an instance of the connection on their side. This can be established using the following JavaScript, which is generated by default by Rails. So do we have this as well? App JavaScript channels consumer. So app JavaScript channels consumer. Okay, great. So we've got this as well. So this is all came from our default Rails install. So we've got this great consumer. Okay. This will ready a consumer that will connect against /cable on your server by default. The connection won't be established until you've also specified at least one subscription you're interested in having. The consumer can optionally take an argument that specifies the URL to connect to. This can be a string or a function that returns a string that will be called when the WebSocket is opened. Okay. So I'm assuming, again, it's telling me that now, so I'm assuming that there's like potentially if we need to use a different place where we store all of that data, like if it's on, I'm guessing something, is that why we would tell it that if we wanted to use a Redis instance for like chucking all of the stuff that it would go over there and look at that? I don't know. The consumer becomes a subscriber by creating a subscription to a given channel. So this makes it a consumer to ready the connection, and then it actually has to subscribe. A consumer becomes a subscriber by creating a subscription to a given channel. So important. So would I have one of these as well? No. Import consumer.subscriptions.create. So I can see where the channel has come from. I don't know what the room is coming in there. So is that passing that to the server as well, I assume? JavaScript channels, appearance channel. Oh, so this is the, oh, I see. So these are two separate subscriptions being created. This one's just got the channel and this one has some sort of extra param for something. While this creates the subscription, the functionality needed to respond to received data will be described later on. Right, so that I think is what we were talking about, where when we've got a notification pinging from the server, maybe from the notice gem, it's up to the client to say what should actually happen. So it receives it and you go, bing, I've got a new subscription. Oops, I've got a subscription. What do you want to do? And we need to tell it what to do in the client. A consumer can act as a subscriber to a given channel any number of times. For example, a consumer could subscribe to multiple chat rooms at the same time. Okay, cool. Client-server interactions. Streams. Streams provide the mechanism by which channels route published content broadcasts to their subscribers. So you set up, so a consumer sets you up to be ready to subscribe to things. You then subscribe to things, and then the streams travel across the subscriptions, across the connections. Is that right? Streams provide the mechanism by which channels route published content broadcast to their subscribers. Maybe I've described that poorly or incorrectly. For example, the following code uses stream from to subscribe to the broadcasting named chat best room when the value of the room parameter is best room. Okay, stream from chat params. Then elsewhere in your Rails application, you can broadcast to such a room by calling broadcast. You can have a space in there? Okay. If you have a stream that is related to a model, sorry, I think I missed over it. So this is basically on the server side now, when you are then broadcasting, and then this is being, this I think is the ID to tell it which one to connect to listen to. If you have a stream that is related to a model, then the broadcasting name can be generated from the channel and model. For example, the following code uses stream 4 to subscribe to a broadcasting. That's a fun linguistic things, just switching a verb and a noun to a broadcasting like comments colon, was that the global? Yeah, it's the global ID of the post of the model. Okay. A broadcasting is a pub sub link where anything transmitted by a publisher is routed directly to the channel subscribers who are streaming that named broadcasting. Each channel can be streaming 0 or more broadcastings. Broadcastings are purely an online queue and time dependent. If a consumer is not streaming, subscribe to a given channel, they'll not get the broadcast should they connect later. Okay. When a consumer is subscribed to a channel, they act as a subscriber. This connection is called a subscription. Incoming messages, there's just so many words. Incoming messages are then routed to these channel subscriptions based on an identifier sent by the cable consumer. Okay, so this looks like what we do when we get that thing. So here we're creating the subscription and we're subscribing to this channel and this room. And then we saw earlier what we do with that. We make this little unique ID thing out of the room thing. And then it looks like as more arguments of create, this then passes in so I'm guessing received is something that it knows to look for. So received, and then after it has received that data, it calls, I'm assuming you can do whatever you like here. So this is just using append line. Don't know if these are special in any way. But then it's just looking for where to shove the thing that's been sent. So it is saying, right, go and hello, people saying hello in the chat. So it is just going to chuck. Oh, this. Okay, so sorry. I thought that the HTML was going over the payload, but it's going to chuck this and then data sent by and data body. So this looks like how we're getting the information from the actual payload from the, I can't remember the word, from the broadcasting. I'm going to take a while to catch me up on all that terminology. So sent by and body, and it will shove it after before the end of this element here. Okay. So look, it doesn't really matter what this says. You just want to do stuff with the data that you've received after this connection. So this is just an example of what you could do. Passing parameters. How far? Okay, so we're halfway through this. Okay. Where are we up to today? 15. Let's I don't know. I just feel like we're supposed to know all this stuff. Like maybe today is just reading docs, then we smash into it next week. You can pass params from the client side to the server side when creating a subscription. Yeah, okay, so remember this is coming. I think this knows where to go in order to call these. So I'm guessing you don't have to set up controllers for those. And that just happens automatically. An object passes the first argument to subscriptions.create. Becomes the params hash in the cable channel. An object passes the first argument to subscriptions.create, becomes the params hash in the cable channel. The keyword channel is required. That's the same bit of code as before, isn't it? Is that not identical? Okay. Okay, so this becomes the pressure in the keyword channel. Okay, so this is the object that's passed to create. It has to have this, so it knows which channel to do to work. Oh no, this is, sorry, this is the first object, but it has to have channel, which is what happened before. And that becomes, oh, okay. Right. Okay, and then that's in the channel. Right, so cable channel, oh, right, okay. This, okay, so best, right. So best room is available here because this object is turned into the params that are read in the channel, which I think in my mental model is usually, so like this would be the params of a request. You would then go and have those params in the controller. We don't have that structure here. So here we're working straight in the channel, and that all of the other stuff is abstracted away. And so immediately and the channel is what has got you to the right place. So this key has to be here. Chat channel takes you to here. And then room and anything else you add in here will be available via the params hash here. Okay, fine. Sorry, that took me a bit of a second to get my brain around. Somewhere in your app, this is called perhaps from a new comment job. Yep, and so that's, oh, this one is actually then clarifying how these params get built. And they're built on the actual broadcast. So yeah, they're on that payload of what goes over. Great. So rebroadcasting a message. A common use case is to rebroadcast a message sent by one client to any other connected clients. Okay, so a chat channel can receive data. It can then, and that's streaming from a specific room. It then rebroadcasts those. Right, okay, so it receives data here, and all it does is rebroadcast it. So that's presumably receiving one individual message from one person in a chat and then rebroadcasting it to everyone else, including the person who just sent it. And then here is how that's happening. So chat channel would say we're creating the subscription. This is what we're looking at just now. Right, okay, so then it does the send, and this is what would then be received, because this is what was sent. So right, okay, so you create the subscription, great, and then when you want to trigger stuff, you call .send. That sends this thing, this payload, which is sent by Paul, and then the body, and then in your received callback of your channel, you'll have that data to play with, because this thing just rebroadcasts that. So, okay, it's kind of going around in a circle. I'm hoping this is helping people build, like, you're watching me build up a mental model of what we're supposed to be doing here. Full stack examples. The following setup steps are common to both examples. Great, so this is what I want to get to, like how do we actually do this thing? Number 1, set up your connection. Number 2, set your parent channel. Set up your parent channel. 3, connect your consumer. Okay, let's go through some examples. Here's a simple example of a channel that tracks whether a user is online or not and what page they're on. This is useful for creating presence features like showing a green dot next to a username if they're online. Create the server-side appearance channel. Okay, so can these be anything? Like, are subscribed and unsubscribed keywords? I'm guessing there are like certain key magic words that we have to use, and then we can just appear and disappear. It can be our own. Oh no, we haven't defined disappear. Where's it calling disappear? Oh, that's on the. Oh, sorry, that's on the user. Just scrolling down to see. I already got lost in the first one. So on the channel, we define subscribed, unsubscribed. Great. Yep. Appear. Okay. When a subscription is initiated, the subscribed callback gets fired. Right. Okay. And we take that opportunity to say the current user has indeed appeared, which is what's happening here. That appear disappear API could be backed by Redis, a database, or whatever else. Okay. Create the client-side appearance channel subscription. So then this is the thing on the client side that will then create the subscription. Right, so when we were doing consumer.subscriptions.create earlier, up here, we were passing in a hash, an object, sorry, that had to have a channel keyword. And I'm assuming here we aren't doing that because we only just want to take the... If we just give it a string, it's always a channel? Called once when the subscription is created. So, okay, these have been a bunch of methods. Great, initialized, called when the subscription is ready for use on the server, connected. Okay, yeah, so this is the API that we saw earlier that wasn't really explained at the time, but we get these keywords here. So disconnected, rejected, update, appear, away, install, uninstall. Okay, cool. Client server interaction 1. Client connects to server via app.cable. ActionCable create consumer. The server identified this connection by current user. Client subscribes to the appearance channel via consumer.subscriptions.create. Channel appearance channel. Appearance channel.js. Yeah, so that is different. So I'm guessing that is a shorthand. Server recognizes a new subscription has been initiated for the appearance channel and runs its subscribed callback, calling the appear method on current user. Client recognizes that a subscription has been established and calls connected, which in turn calls install and appear. So that's this one here, recognizes it's been connected. This installs install and appear, which is update this dot appear and then appear. Okay. Appear calls appearance channel appear data on the server. Is that what it does? This dot perform appear appearing on. Okay, so is that what this dot perform does? This is possible because the server-side channel instance automatically exposes all public methods declared on the class minus the callbacks. So these can be reached as remote procedure calls via a subscription's perform method. Yep. So okay. So perform is basically saying do this server-side method. Server receives the request for the appear action on the appearance channel for the connection identified by current user. Server retrieves the data with the appearing on key from the data hash and sets it as the value for the on key being passed to current user.appear. Appearing on key. The data hash. Where's the server one for appear? Current user.appear on, data appearing on. Right, and data is what has appeared, come from that. I'm not really sure what the what that's doing there. Yes, sets the value for on key being passed to current user.appear. So what does current user.appear actually do? Just mark the user as appearing? As appearing? Is that what's... Right, okay, so is that appear, disappear API could be a Redis or database, so presumably that is what value has changed there, I guess. The appearance example was all about exposing server functionality to client-side invocation over the WebSocket connection. But the great thing about WebSockets is that it's a two-way street. So now let's show an example where the server invokes an action on the client. This is a web notification channel. Now they're speaking our language because we started with notifications. That allows you to trigger client-side web notifications when you broadcast to the right streams. Create the server-side web notifications channel. Great. Okay, cool. So this is starting back again. We started the appearance channel first last time. Now we're going to do web notifications channel. Create the client-side web notifications channel and subscription. So we create it. Again, there's no hash no object this time. It's just the name of the channel as a string, and then this received method here with data, broadcast content to a web notification channel instance from elsewhere in your application. Web notifications channel.broadcast to. The web notifications broadcast to call places a message in the current subscription adapter's pub sub queue under a separate broadcasting name for each user because of the current user in broadcast 2, I guess. For a user with an ID of 1, the broadcasting name would be web notifications 1. The channel has been instructed to stream everything that arrives at web notifications 1 directly to the client by invoking the received callback. Data passed as an argument in the hash sent as the second parameter to the server-side broadcast call. JSON encoded for the trip across the wire and unpacked for the data argument arrived as receiving. So that's this one here, data body, and then everything in here would become data. Okay, ActionCable has 2 required configurations: a subscription adapter and allowed request origins. By default, ActionCable looks for a configuration file in config.cable. The file must specify an adapter for each Rails environment. Okay, so development, async, and then production is Redis. So what's development doing using the async one? The async adapter is intended for development/testing and should not be used in production. The Redis adapter requires users to provide a URL pointing to the Redis server. Additionally, a channel prefix may be provided to avoid channel name collisions when using the same Redis server for multiple applications. See the Redis pub/sub documentation. Postgres adapter uses Active Records connection pool and thus the application's config database YAML configuration for its connection. This may change in the future. So the Postgres adapter uses Active Records connection pool and thus the application's config database. Does that mean you end up with like loads and loads of Postgres connections? How do those connections scale? Like if you have 1 million users, what scales at that point? Do you need 1 million connections? Because at live, and do they all stay live? I don't know enough about that, but that sounds like something that you should know before cracking into this. What is the kind of infrastructure cost of keeping all those connections alive, I guess. Okay. Allowed request origins. So we'll only accept requests from specific origins, specified origins, which you pass to the server config as an array. Cool, okay. So again, you've got your request forgery protection. So Rails is trying to keep you safe and only allowing the right connections to get through to your server. To configure the URL, add a call to ActionCable meta tag. Let's use the URL paths in the configuration. Worker pool configuration. The worker pool is used to run connection callbacks and channel actions in isolation from the server's main thread. ActionCable allows the application to configure the number of simultaneously processing threads in the worker pool. Yeah, it feels like there's a performance aspect to this that needs to be looked into at any scale, I guess. Other configurations. I don't know enough about it to do any of this stuff. Running standalone cable servers. ActionCable can run alongside your Rails application. For example, to listen for WebSocket requests on /WebSocket, specify that path to config ActionCable mount path. Okay. You can use ActionCable create consumer to connect to the cable server if your ActionCable meta tag is invoked in the layout. Otherwise, a path is specified as first argument to create consumer. Okay, for every instance of your server you create, for every worker your server spawns, you will also have a new instance of ActionCable, but the use of Redis keeps messages synced across the connections. Oh, okay, is that a way of handling that? So you could scale up the number of servers you had handling the ActionCable connections. And then you would, I don't know how Redis handles lots and lots of connections. I think that's like what Redis does, right? So then you could have just instances of if you had like a really, again, I have no idea if what I'm saying is correct. I'm kind of asking this. So you could have like your main web app servers, then you could have like the ActionCable ones. And if you had a really high intensity, like a chat app or something, you could scale up the ActionCable ones without needing to scale up everything else. And as long as they're just able to generate a crap ton of connections to the Redis database, you could just keep scaling them up. And that's all fine because it just keeps speaking to Redis and your app doesn't really care. The cable servers can be separated from your normal application server. It's still a rack application, but it's its own rack application. Oh, wait, I thought that's what this was saying. Can run alongside. What does it mean by alongside if it's not standalone? Cable mount, you can create consumer. For every instance of your server you create, for every worker your server spawns, you will also. Oh, okay, wait. I think I was talking about this one. Imagining this one to be standalone. So for every instance of your server you create, and for every worker your server spawns, you will also have a new instance. But the use of Redis keeps messages synced across connections. I think I'd have to see this in action to understand what the ramifications of this. The cable servers can be separated from your normal application server. It's still a rack application, but its own. Right, okay, so I think that one was more what I was thinking of just having it as a standalone server. The WebSocket server doesn't have access to the session, but it has access to the cookies. This can be used when you need to handle authentication. Okay. Okay, oh my god, we made it all the way to the bottom. Oh my god, if you have watched any of this, you are a total trooper, because that was long. Something coming in from the chat. So let me just, I'll address the one in the chat in a second. But yeah, this is really amazing. There's a lot more to this than I had kind of clocked. I had kind of read a few bits and bobs about ActionCable. And how long are we going? We're going, where are we up to? Yeah, we're only over the 90-minute mark. So I think what we're going to do is, it's like the old bait and switch. Thought we were going to write some code, but we read some docs. Suckers. Really, really useful to learn all of that stuff and go through it. I don't know, we could, come on, let's write some code. Come on. Let's just do that quick example here. I'm just going to answer that quick question from the chat. So I have a question. I have a Rails server that calls API from another third-party server. I want to know where should I store the token provided by the third-party server. So you probably want to store that in an environment variable, I would guess. So if it's one key per application, so we have the YouTube API in this app, and we then go and get information from YouTube using the API key. And so an environment variable is going to be the best place to store that, because you can have one for production, one for staging, one for development. If you need a key per user, you're probably going to want to store that differently, like either on the client for the user, or however, in the database, I guess, it depends on what the API key is and what you need to do with it. So yeah, but if you're storing just one for a third-party service, an environment variable is probably what you're looking for. All right, let's go and find the example they have here that was notification stuff, because there wasn't a lot of code on that one, so we can just steal it. Right, let's do this one. Come on, let's get something, and then this won't work, but it will give us our starting place for next week, which will be exciting. So app, and if it does work, we can all just freak out. So app channels. And then I'm going to make a new file in here, web notifications channel. And then I'm just going to copy and paste a bunch of code. So we're going to add that in here. Create the client-side web notification channel subscription. And that is going to happen in app JavaScript channels web notifications channel. App JavaScript channels, new file. Channels web notification channel.js. Client side, which assumes you've already requested the right to send web notifications. Oh, is that going to be literally a real notification? Well, we can just put console log in there. It doesn't matter what we do. Just leave that for now. That's running TypeScript checking, but it's a JS file. Okay, let's not worry about that. Broadcast content to web notification channel instance from anywhere in your application. Can we run that from... Let's just see if we can do that directly from that controller we had earlier. We're doing a real, we're going to do a quick shotgun version. So here, let's see if we can access that. Current user, new things, all the news for different. Okay, so does any of this work? So let's start our server back up. So what we've done is just grabbed some code arbitrarily from the tutorial, from the docs. And we're just going to try and run it because we're at the end of today's stream and it's good to get some code. So that happens when we click this button. So we're relying on everything just working out of the box. So I don't know if this console's full of crap. Oh, thank you. No problem. I'm glad you enjoy the streams. I hope they're useful in any way. Okay, so we're gonna. Has this got stuck? What's happening here? Oh, Webpack is doing stuff. Oh, Webpack is doing stuff. Okay, so I'm hoping that that's trying to magically do ActionCable. Oh, and it is. It's saying this is broken. Okay. It's the same error we got from our thing, so I didn't actually read the code that we were trying to shove in there. Don't need this. Don't need any of this. Don't need that. Don't need that. Don't need any of this. And just close all this stuff down. Okay, so in here. Okay, so I'm guessing that's supposed to be an object. Why did the docs not have that in an object like that? Exciting. Redis stuff. Oh, amazing. Okay, so it's trying to do Redis stuff. Find verified user. Successfully upgraded to WebSocket. Things are happening to do with WebSockets. Registered a connection. This is so exciting. I genuinely didn't think this was going to work. I don't really know what's happening now. Okay, great. Okay, cool. Things are supposed to happen. Okay, things are supposed to happen, but we don't want it to go through Redis. So why is it trying? Because we don't have that config thing that we read about earlier, which was in here. It's trying to use Redis in development, which I don't have, but can we just use async? I think it was. Well, God knows what that did. Magic? No, it wasn't in here. Sorry, wrong tab. So in here, I think we could just tell it to use adapt to async. Boom. Restart this server, I guess. And then try again. Refresh. Oh my God. Okay, so, oh wow, this is exciting. This is like when turbo frames worked and I didn't expect it to. I'm just very pessimistic that nothing's going to work first time. So, registered connection, some random key of some sort. User 10, which is our username, web notification channel is transmitting the subscription confirmation. Web notification channel is streaming from web notifications, blah, blah. Right. So if we, oh, look at this, it's gone back to our original zoom level. Zoom back in again, so it's easier to see what's happening. So I think if we hit unsubscribe, we unsubscribe, great. That's just turbo, so we don't care about that. And then if we subscribe, I think we should get an error because I think this JavaScript should get hit, but we don't have the web notification UI permission set. So we should subscribe. And nothing happened. Oh, did we ever hit that code? Oh, wait. We're also doing a full page refresh, which probably also isn't a good idea. So that's probably not great as well. What happens if we do... Can we just chuck a debugger in here? To be honest, I was quite excited about just seeing the stuff in the logs, so everything past that doesn't matter. Okay, Webpacker compiling. We ready? Great. Okay, so we're connected. Some notification-y stuff. Do the unsubscribe. Great, no one cares. Then do the subscribe. Okay, so we obviously go through here. Web notifications channel broadcast 2. So can we just put a... Just see what's happening here. So if we put like a pry in here really quickly, and then just put... Well, we can leave that there because it's not being hit, but if we put like a console in there and just say, I can just put it in caps and just say this code is being hit. And then we can refresh this. So I'm assuming this is never being hit at the moment. So web notifications channel, web notifications channel, web notifications channel, subscribed. Okay, so if we unsubscribe, hit subscribe, and then in here we end up here. So if we Oops. Just going to broadcast this to the current user. Then we can just put link title hello. So that registers there. Oh my god! And there it is. This code. Ah, oh my god. So excited. So there you can see this code is being hit, which is the debugger code that we're running. Sorry, which is the console log that we put in there. And this was trying to trigger a new notification, but we just don't have that. So we could do whatever we wanted at this point. So we could put in there. We can take this line out because we don't need that. Well, let's leave it in there because it would show us how to do the data thing. That can go, and then. Oh, is it because the page is being refreshed? So if we then leave that in there, take the debugger out of the, take the pry out of the controller. I'm going to come back and try and explain what I'm doing in a second. I'm just going to try and get this done quickly. So we want to come out of the pry. Oops. Restart the server. I'm so excited just to see that happen. So let's see if we can get that console log still in there, even though we refresh the page. Because I wonder if that's what's causing the issue. Oh, have I stuck that? Oh no, it's just compiling. It zooms out every time. What's going on there? Okay, so unsubscribe, clear the console, subscribe. This code is being hit. Amazing. So it gets hit every time, and then the page changes. But debugger didn't work. Ah, I guess because we then. So the code is hit, and then we refresh. So this. What happens if you do this? What happens if we move this after that? So the redirection happens, and then we do it. That can't work. Unsubscribe, clear the console, subscribe. No, it still hits the other way around. Okay. Yeah, okay. So basically we're sending this thing, it works and gets received, and then we just redirect the entire thing away. So we just wipe out any changes we would make there. So even if we, in here, did something to the DOM, it would get wiped out because we're then doing the redirect, which is what we just don't need to do this redirect, I guess, afterwards. So then we could say here, do something to the DOM. I don't even know what it would be. You could put an ID on something and then update it. So we could say, so this could be ID test count. I don't know what we'd call it. Test count. And then in here you could have oh, what's the vanilla thing? It's just .text. Text content, whatever. And then we want that to be this count. And then in the thing here, I'm going to come back and go over what I'm trying to accomplish here. So here we can then do count. We can then do current user dot notifications dot unread count. No idea if that's going to work. Let's just log out. It's not going to work, so let's just log out what we think we're getting here. So we think that we're getting that thing there, and then we think, oh, I know that we're going to twice. And then we think we're going to update its content there, and we've added an ID there. Right, so what we think might happen, I think what we think might happen is that when we hit subscribe, the number will change, but we won't redirect the page. I think, maybe. And then we got to wait for Webpack to do its inevitable thing, I think. Is that what we're waiting for? Yeah, okay, cool. So then we unsubscribe here. Great. Page redirects, don't care. Does this number change? No. This code is being hit. So we do get this 11 text. It's not a function. Oh, text content is not a function. Okay, so that's the wrong. I thought I clocked that. Text content equals. Oh, I see. So you have to set it. Can I just do? I've already lost where I was doing that. Sorry, I screwed that up. Okay, so let's give that another try. Is that running? Yeah, okay. Is there a quicker way to do this? This is a long stream. I'm really excited to try. If this works, what a triumphant ending. For me, no one else cares. Unsubscribe. Great. Okay. Refresh the page. Does this value change? Ah, I'm freaking out. Oh, it totally works. Okay, we broke the form submission. Oh, because it should do something. It's now no longer returning a value. Okay, we don't really care about that right now. But this changed. Oh my God, and it changed via ActionCable without refreshing the page. So exciting. Right, we're just gonna spend 2 minutes going back over what just happened there. So basically, when we were hitting the subscribe button, it was redirecting the entire page. And because we're not using like turbo frames or anything like that, the entire page is being refreshed. So when from our tutorial, from the docs, what we were able to do was set up the channel on the server side. So that's app channels, web notifications channel. And that only had to have this one method in. We then set the same thing up client side. So that's in the JavaScript directory, and that's JavaScript channels web notification channel. And the only thing we needed to set up here, because everything else came from ActionCable, is what channel do you want to subscribe to, and what do you want to do when we've got that notification? And those two things alone, because ActionCable has abstracted everything else away, told Rails the name of the channel on both ends, server and client, and we're then immediately able to grab this API, which is from the channel class, we can call broadcast to. Current user would give it the ID of which channel to broadcast on. Can't remember all of the terminology that we just read. But that's what generated that ID. So that won't go to other users. And then everything after that is just a hash of data to send it. So what we did here is set this value called count, which I just made up. That could be like that could be unread notifications. Like that could be anything. We're defining that. And then that is responded to here in this data object here, which is, or data hash here, which is coming from everything we pass to broadcast to. And we're not using this notification one. We've just done this vanilla style from the docs, but I'm assuming what we could do is use the noticed gem. But we're just using our own here, and we're saying, right, tell this user that they have this many unread notifications. And this is the key point here, which is breaking the form, which is don't then do a redirect. Just leave the page as is. So we're doing the work and then not doing anything. Now, ideally, we wouldn't do that. Could we just do could we do that here and it wouldn't break? Well, it would be and created, I think it would be. So I think maybe we can clear this console. Oh no, sorry, it's waiting for just to refresh. So unsubscribe, it goes away, clear the console. Just gonna see if we can not get that error. Subscribe, 14. Amazing. And so it's not changing the button correctly now because it's not doing anything to do that. So we could refresh. This number doesn't change because 14 is now the correct value, but we can unsubscribe. That does reload the page. So again, this will subscribe, this number will go up, but the page will not refresh. Boom, so that's 15. The debugging code that we popped in here will appear, these console logs. That's gone up. This is now incorrect because it's not refreshing. But when we do refresh the page, this shows we're subscribed and this number doesn't change. So I'm popping in a head just sends back the status, the HTTP status that you pass it. So this will be 201 is created. And so that has worked. So then what this does is knows everything it needs to know because of the name of the class, and then gets to here. All this did was we just put on an ID onto this little element that we created earlier in our header. And I just called it test count. Again, you probably wouldn't do that. You would give it some dynamic ID so that it was representative of the user ID or something like that. And then all we did was replace the value of it. So I just text content equals, and then this data unread notifications comes from this unread notifications here. And that's it. It doesn't work very well because, as you can see, it's stupid, but that gives you everything you need. So everything else we then read in the docs just kind of flows from that, which is mind-blowing because all of the stuff we read, loads of it is actually abstracted away by Rails. So loads of the stuff is stuff that you need to know what you're working with, but the actual code to get it all up and running and set up is very minimal. And then I think the next step could be like using Redis locally to mimic how we would behave in production or something like that. But that was amazing and we got it working. So I now have a million times better understanding of ActionCable. I've used it for the first time and it worked and everything is amazing. So that's it. Let's wrap things up. Thank you to everyone who said hello in the chat. I'm so sorry to anyone who has had to find this video and wanted to watch it on Twitch. That was a Streamlabs issue today, so I do apologize for that. We'll see if we can, I will get that sorted for next week. I just didn't realize that was broken. Thank you to everyone who said hello in the chat. And people who've said in the comments that, please update the GitHub stuff. I will try, no promises. It's a super busy period around here, other than Sunday mornings, which I keep reserved. But I'll try and kind of tidy some of this stuff up. Yeah, thank you so much. Have wonderful weeks. I hope you're all having a great week, no matter when you watch this, whether it's around now or in the future. Yeah, have a great day, everyone.